Gotcha. Yeah, you're cool. So welcome to Nicharee Farm. It's a family farm left to by my parents, who worked very hard for it during their stints in England back in the 1930s, 40s and 50s. So one of the great things about a farm and having a farm, especially at my stage of life, is that you can indulge your interests. And both as a student and a science teacher, physics always intrigued me. And one of the things that really intrigued me was the energy of light. We used to have a piece of apparatus in the lab called a Crookes radiometer, which when you shone a light on it, it turned. It wasn't a photovoltaic cell. That was before that. But later in time, these turned up in our lab. A little wheel with a photovoltaic cell, which when the light shines on it, it spins. So I took the opportunity. I had these old roofs here, and I planned to put some solar panels on the roofs. So what you're seeing here is just over 6 kilowatts of solar panel, and they supply all our needs for the year. Because it's more in the summertime than the wintertime, then we use the ESB grid as a bank. So now today we're feeding into the grid, and our meter turns not backwards, but at least it gives us, it accounts for a little bit of money that the ESB pay for electricity going into the grid. And during the winter we'll bring that back again. So then 2 years ago I decided, well, I got to get wheels on that, much like this thing here. I got to put wheels on it. And I bought this golf buggy over in England. So she can be charged from the solar panels, charged from any power point, in fact, because she's 240 volt alternating current. So that's converted into DC in the batteries here behind me. So it's a great little farm run around, great thing for fencing, great thing for seeing stock, great thing if you have to carry heavy things around the land. So this is my golf buggy, these are my solar panels, and this is one of the things that keeps me bright in the morning. Hello boys. Hey girls. Hello girls. Come on. Come on. There you go. There you go. 2 for there, 2 for here. Come on. Come on, split yourselves up. Hey. Come on, Blackie. Back to you on. So, this is my latest venture. One of the problems about having 50 acres of broadleaf deciduous trees is the undergrowth that you can get under the trees, because there's no leaves during the winter time, which allows briars and nettles and a lot of undergrowth, which sometimes can make it hard to get through the woods to do the things you want to do, to prune and shape and check that the trees are okay. So I read online that pigs can do a great job, so I got these pigs about 2 months ago and let them off into that piece of woodland over there. So all went very well for the first 4 or 5 weeks until they found a way out. They found the electric fence, didn't give them a shock, they went through it. So last week we made Alcatraz here, which is where I'm standing now. The plan is that we'll gradually train them that the electric fence does give a shock, and we'll set up another compound inside the woods, and they'll go back into the woods within the next few days, hopefully. But they're doing a good job here, because this is my compost heap. It's the manure from inside from the cattle from last year, mixed with some wood chip, and the lads are rooting it up and aerating it, and they're actually encouraging a biology in there, which is good, because there's the biology in the soil and the biology in compost, which we've forgotten about for a long time and which we need to go back to. So that's the story of the pigs. So that's Porgy, that's Bess, Blackie 1 and Blackie 2. Oh, whoops. Hold on. Okay, so one of the benefits of surrounding the farm with deciduous or coniferous trees is it creates shelter from the ocean, which is just over that direction, a mile approximately, 2 kilometers. So we can use this shelter now to plant apple trees and fruit trees, which before we couldn't plant. So there's approximately 30 apple trees in this orchard, and there's another 40 in another orchard down further down the farm. And when you have a traditional orchard, what do you do with the grass between the trees? And the old traditional way was geese. So I got a few geese a few years ago, and I wouldn't really be without them now. They just live on the grass. Okay, there's young ones there, which is why I'm giving them a little bit of feed. They keep the grass tidy. They're just nice to see wandering around the place. So that's the geese. And the apples, as you can see, we're going to have a good crop. This is the first year that those trees are just about 7 years old. This is the first year we're going to have a kind of a decent crop from them. Okay, wood. It's a tremendous resource. Only the imagination limits what we can use it for. But because our woodland was destroyed back in the 16th, 17th centuries in Ireland, we've lost a lot of our old knowledge of woods and how to use them. So I'm trying gradually, from people who know a lot more than me, trying to pick up things again, that old lost knowledge which has been needs to be revived. I now have all this wood here. I put up a little saw bench inside for creating construction timber, but I've also a lot of small timber, and just a few weeks ago I purchased this wood chipper. And the purpose of the wood chipper is to convert material like I have behind me, or material like this, which have to be pruned and don't have much other use, into wood chip. Wood chip can be used for bedding my animals. It can be used for insulation. It can be used for making compost, such as we have here. So there is wood chip in that pile of compost. There is no wood chip in this one. I am making some wood chip here now, which I hope to add to that. What does that do? It encourages soil fungi, because using artificial fertilizers, we bypass the fungus that used to produce the phosphate and potassium. We need to give them a space in which they can do their job again. So I want to get more soil fungi back into the soil so that they will make phosphate and potash, and we won't have to be shipping it in from quarries all over the world. So, having planted 50 acres around the periphery of my farm, I was left with 50 acres of grassland, which is now sheltered from the sea and from the prevailing winds. And the obvious thing to do with that in our climate is to produce organic beef or organic milk. Now, here we produce organic beef, and we have had lots of different breeds over the years. We spent 30 years breeding Blonde Aquitaine, a French breed from south of France, but they're adapted to eat maize, and we can't really grow maize very well on this farm. So when I changed to organic and to grass-fed, I changed to these Aberdeen Angus cross Frisian mothers, and their offspring then are three-quarter Aberdeen Angus. They're all kept in one group, so you've got 3 generations here. You have the cow, you have the calf from 2017, you have the calf from 2016, and you've still got the bigger ones, which are the calves from 2015. They are coming towards the end of their time now, and they will soon be sold as Angus beef. And if you buy a pack of our Nicharee Farm Angus pastured beef, then you're helping to support this, what I believe is a good use of the land and a development of the biodiversity and the nature in this area. We have buzzards flying here now in this woodland here, who have never been here for 40 years. They're flying there because there are small birds for them to prey on. The small birds are there because there's insects in the trees for them to live on. It's a whole ecosystem, and we need to respect it. So that's our Angus beef. I believe the seeds of what we become as people are planted well back into our childhood. I grew up on this farm here, Edgewick Farm. It was a small rented farm, 28 acres, which my parents rented from Buckinghamshire County Council. They sold milk to the surrounding districts, milked, bottled it and delivered it, and in that way they made money, enough money to buy Nicharee Farm in 1959. But one thing about that Edgewick Farm, it's surrounded by woodland, coniferous woodland owned by the Dukes of Bedford. And as a kid I played in that woodland. My idea of a field was a field surrounded by trees. So I think those seeds have come back, and I think part of what I'm doing here is a realization of that past. Edgewick Farm is now a community farm. It's run by the community, and it's a lovely little farm with a visitor centre, and where I'm proud to say my family's time there is remembered in pictures and in accounts of the farm. So Edgewick Farm is in a little village called Woburn Sands near Milton Keynes in Buckinghamshire, Bedfordshire in the UK.